Welcome, everyone, to our Wednesday afternoon journey through the future. And everything in this class is about our future, humanity's destiny. And what we're going to do today is continue to look at this idea that we've been doing so far, started last week, called Together on Earth. And I will explain more about that in a moment. But essentially, we are really going to drill down on the idea of the future of freedom for the human being in an increasingly complex and in some ways backward looking world. We
Mhm.
will get to that. We touched on this last week, but last week was an important class to begin to talk about this idea of Together on Earth because of the event that had taken place in British Columbia in Tumbler Ridge, which we
Mhm.
spent quite a bit of time trying to understand what the meaning of that event was in terms of its connection to the rest of us and
Mhm.
how we can begin to look at an event like that in terms of this bigger idea called Together on Earth. And ultimately, this bigger idea of Together on Earth is about the future of freedom and human rights. And this is a very important topic as we move forwards. Last week's
Mhm.
class was looking at it in just a smaller kind of lens to try and understand a little bit of, just a little bit of what might have motivated a young person, 18 years old, to carry out an act of violence and
Mhm.
what impact perhaps the rest of the world, the bigger world, had on that person who carried out this action. And I did say, before we really knew, I did say to you, it's quite possible that this person has a gender um, struggle, which is very much a part of Together on Earth. Because when we're together on Earth, we have to accept that we're all together and everyone has a voice, everyone has rights, and everyone has a different way of wanting to live. And freedom is something very precious, very important, but also quite dangerous for some societies because freedom leads you to pursue what you believe is in your heart, in your bones, and who you are. And one small aspect of the enormous tragedy that happened in Tumbler Ridge was the fact that here was a young person who was in the process of changing their gender from male to female. That's a huge freedom issue today. And that's not what we're going to be looking at today. I'm just reviewing last week. But it was a very good interaction conversation we had. And so let me just come back and set this up a little bit more for you today because some things have changed in this room for the better. Okay. So for all of you online in the cosmos and also watching asynchronously later, you're going to see at last after a lot of time was spent by me in this room yesterday fixing things as best I could that we now have the camera in the room working and connected finally again. So you're seeing the full wide shot of the room. And for all of you here in person, you're seeing what they're seeing out there on YouTube, which is a little bit delayed. But this is the view, the totally live view. This is our video conferencing system called Toria, which is what we're interacting with now. This is a system that I'm building with some IT engineers in Waterloo. It's a Canadian-made video conferencing system, highly encrypted and secure. Um, so this is then pushed out. This video conference is pushed out onto YouTube to get a high definition recording. So I'll be toggling back and forth between this. But let me just come back to the YouTube one so you can all see. Um, And so this room is going to work better today, and I will not have to be using a handheld camera or my camera, my phone, or something else to move around. We can do it in a bit more of a sophisticated way. So this is by way of explaining something about the interaction that's going to happen here, okay? Which is already quite intensive, but it's going to be stepped up a notch today. So I just want you to be ready, okay? Here's a microphone. We're going to be passing the microphone around a lot, and we're going to test it in a moment, okay, to make sure. So once you're in the nucleus here, you're in this area, you have come to interact and really learn. So you know already a little bit of this, but we haven't had the microphone going yet like this. This is where your voice matters even more because I've designed it so that we don't use the overhead microphones here, which are too remote. This is more like a podcast. You can hear it like an FM radio or a podcast. And that way, when you speak, your voice is really going to be heard. So let's let me just show you, okay? Is there anyone ready to say anything? Do you want to just listen and watch for a moment? Okay. Are you ready to? You want to say something? You okay? Yeah, you're good. Okay. Well, let's start with Elizabeth because I've noticed she's not afraid to put herself out there, and that's good. But we'll come around just so you can see. But we're going to come back, okay? We're testing, okay? We're testing so you can hear how it's going to be. And can you just hold the microphone, Elizabeth, like it's karaoke? So you've got to hold it pretty close, and then you can really hear. So just tell us how the day has been going a little bit, and we're just doing a little audio check, and then we'll check in with the folks in the cosmos to make sure they can hear her really clearly. Go ahead. So,
Hi,
how's it going
it
today?
is an audio check. Hello. My day was okay. I kind of got up a little later than I'd like to, but earlier than I expected, so whatever. I had an exam. That went well. I went skating. That was fun. The walk there wasn't as fun because it was very snowy outside. And then I came here.
Great.
That's all.
Okay. So, Elizabeth's voice is kind of soft, but with the microphone close, you'll really hear her, right? So, Angelique, could you hear Elizabeth nice and clearly? Want to? Yes. Oh, go ahead. Unmute your microphone, Angelique. Okay. Unmute
Oh.
yours. Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
okay. I didn't even know it was
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Could you
I
hear?
feel like I have like a quirky voice. So
But you heard? Did you hear Elizabeth clearly? Go ahead.
Can you
I
hear
did.
me?
I
Yes,
did.
great. Okay. So,
Mhm.
Elizabeth, can you do me a favor and maybe give the microphone over to him for a moment, okay? Just pass it around and see to make sure. And what's your name again? It's
Daniel.
oh, Daniel. Daniel
Hacha.
Hacha. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Daniel. Sorry, too many.
That's okay. Yeah.
Daniel. Daniel, just tell us how the day's been going a little bit.
Yeah. The day's been going all right. Had class early in the morning,
Yep.
but it's been good. Just the weather, I guess, is going to make it a bit of a troublesome journey home.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the snow won't cause too much of an issue on the roads and things like that today. So yeah.
But you got here. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then I'd like to introduce a guest who sometimes joins us, Brandon Smith, a former student. And Brandon, how you doing today?
Um,
So?
I know, a little mad,
A little
but
mad. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that. Do you want to tell
well,
us something quickly? What you're mad about? Just is it something to do with a little bit of freedom? Maybe?
um, no, really.
Not really? Okay. Well, we'll come back to this later, okay? No pressure there, all right? This is the microphone that we move around, but everybody's voice matters. So I'm just going to leave this here for a second, okay? And then when I've shut that microphone off. When we start to really talk, we're going to pass that around and we're going to explore things together. but at least we know it's working. The microphone is working and everything is good there. Okay, so the next thing is I want to make sure that everybody who wants to participate online will get their 5 out of 5. Angelique already has hers because she's unmuted right from the start and she's ready to interact. Is there anyone else in the cosmos right now who definitely wants to unmute and speak today and even unmute their video and gets their 5 out of 5? Who would like to do that? Anybody else? Let's see. If not, somebody maybe has to turn their microphone off and mute.
Hello?
Okay. Oh, who's that?
It's Jordan. How you doing?
Jordan, we're doing just fine. Jordan, are you able to unmute your video too, or it's okay if you can't, as long as we have the audio, but it's really nice to see a beautiful face too. So
Give me 1 second here.
okay. So Jordan, we're gonna get to see Jordan. And is this the Jordan that's been writing some pretty interesting things in the discussion post?
Yes, yes.
Discussion board? Yeah.
I saw
And is this
discussed
Yeah.
it like 2 weeks ago, one of mine.
Very, very good. I'm glad that this is the Jordan who is that person. And Jordan, have you posted anything yet for your 5th discussion post? Today is number 6. Did you put anything in the board for number 5?
Yes, yeah, I did. I have that.
Would you be prepared to read that out loud to us right now?
Sure, yeah, not
Yeah,
a problem.
okay. So if you can't unmute your camera, don't worry. More importantly is to hear you and have your discussion post in front of you and that you can read it out loud to us. And we're just going to do a little review before we get to the big
let me refresh the browser and I think it'll work.
Sure. You just jump on your microphone when you're ready to read, okay? And I'm going to talk to the others here. Okay, so is there anything from here in our in-person nucleus, anything you'd like to bring to the class's attention this early on? Anything that you want to mention now, or do you want to talk about that later? Later? Yeah, sure. Okay. So I just want to make sure I know who is here with us in the nucleus. And there he is. Is that Jordan Brown? Oh, no, that's somebody else. Just a second. No, there is Jordan Brown.
Hello?
Lovely. Jordan, yeah. We just saw you, and then you're somewhere. You might even be up here. Oh, there you are. Great. Okay, good. So on YouTube, it looks something like this, just so you know. We've got the little icons all down here. So eventually, we'll get everybody's faces in here, and it will look like people are actually in the class. There we go. You see it's down sort of horizontally, and they're at the back like this. So there is Jordan. Okay, Jordan, could you please read to us what you wrote for your 5th discussion post? Please go ahead.
Sure. So it was based on during one of the students, they were talking about how when we consume news, it's like we're all in silos, kind of. We're all just sticking with our echo chambers. So my question was, if technology is meant to bring people together, why does it seem like it often pushes us into silos where we shut out or attack people who disagree with us instead of trying to learn from them? And then
great
for
question.
me, and then for me, for the reason for that question, it's just, to me, it seems like there's something very strange in how we use technology. We have more access to information and more ways to connect than ever before. But usually I find that it doesn't make us more open-minded. If anything, it can make people more set in their views. One student brought up the idea of us living in silos when it comes to how we get our news, and that stuck with me because it feels pretty accurate to how online spaces work in general. Engagement is the game. So usually I find that we're shown things that already line up with what we believe, And over time, that makes it harder to see other perspectives. Because of that, empathy can start to fade, and it begins easier to react or get angry online than it is to actually like talk things through and like just yeah, with someone face to face. Without a deeper understanding of what connects us, being constantly connected can actually lead to more stress and a sense of disconnection. So it feels right now we're at a crossroads. We can either use these tools to understand each other better, or we can keep using them in the ways that we currently are, pulling us even more apart. Even if we don't make an effort to look outside our own silos, technology won't really bring us together. It will only end up pushing people further apart.
Great final point. I remember that. And I think I've already issued the marks for these posts, but if not, you've definitely received another 5, Jordan, for that. And I wanted to just make sure that all of you are familiar with this idea of crossroads. Jordan used this term crossroads. And so I just want to stop for a second and go around the nucleus here. We're going to pass the mic around, and I'd like to get a definition, even if it's exactly as Jordan described it, but your definition of what you mean by a crossroads in terms of our togetherness. And let me just reiterate what together on earth means so everybody's clear about this. We're living at a time in history, all of us, where technology appears to have brought everybody closer together. Make sense?
Mhm.
It's such a cliche. Everybody talks about how technology has brought everybody together. And that was kind of the dream of Tim Berners-Lee. Remember Tim Berners-Lee? Except now we find ourselves at a little fork in the road, a little crossroads, it seems. And that is technology might not be bringing people together as best that we had imagined. What do we do then? This is very much about dealing with that dilemma and dealing with the fact that it's our desire for freedom, our desire to connect, our desire to invent more with our technologies that's got us to this place in history. Now, it seems like we have a problem we have to face about this. And so I just want to get a sense from each of you, okay, what you think crossroads means. Even if you repeat what I said, that's fine, but you might have something else you want to add to this. And I need a scribe. But since we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in person, I'll do the scribing, okay? I'll go over there and I'll make some notes while we're talking to give all of you a chance to really interact and explain, okay? So we're going to start counterclockwise. Okay, we're going to start counterclockwise and we're going to get the microphone going. And then we'll come into the cosmos. And in the cosmos, everybody, please reflect while you're listening on what, of course, your classmates say, but also be ready to share your thought on exactly what does crossroads mean. And I'm going to put that up on the smart board. Okay, so here we go. So all you have to do is when you want to speak, you put that on, the battery's in there, turn that off, hold it close to your mouth like karaoke. So turn it on and tell us a little bit about what you think. Is Zaid? Zed.
Yeah.
Zed, not Zaid. Zed.
Yeah.
Okay, Zed. Zed. Go ahead. Crossroads, your definition, and I'll start writing. Go.
So I think like internet connectivity has bring like people more connected, but we know less about people now than we knew like before, because now we know like what's happening around the world, but we don't know what our neighbors think or what our neighbors even like are. So I think individuality is getting it's fading apart, and like
Yes.
it's more like everybody thinks that they are like in a hive, and the individuality is getting like lower and lower, and that's why I think people like take less responsibility for their actions because they think like everybody is doing it.
Ah.
So I was thinking like back in the day, like if there was a let's say a small city where everybody knew each other, there would be less crime because the person would think that everybody knows them, right?
Yes.
So it would be harder for them to do a crime or do something bad.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
But now you have this thing called anonymity.
Yeah.
You know, you can hide behind.
Also, the more we are connected, the more radical we get because human being like can't process like how do I put this? Like if something bad happens to a person, um, it won't feel the same emotion again if it's like the same intensity, you know. It has to be more intensity for it to feel like more bad, I would say.
Mm.
So yeah, because now like as you said, right, like a person killed some people in college.
Yes. Yes.
For me, like I feel less bad about it because when I was a kid, um, we had like in our city, we had like a shooter that basically like killed like 40 or 50 students that was like 13 or 14 years old. And yeah, so for me, that's more bad, right? So this seems like less radical for me.
Okay.
And I think internet has like made us that way because we have more information now and more we feel less intense about things now and
Okay.
we are more radical about it then.
Okay. Great. Well, that's good, Zed, to get us started. Okay. More connected, maybe more radical in some ways. You ready? Yeah? Want to try? Now, I want to remind all of you as I pass the mic around and we do this together that one of the essential employability outcomes for the course is communication. So it's not just about the course learning outcomes that are really important in terms of being able to engage with the ideas around our future and important questions that we ask about our future. But then there's the practical side of what happens here. Those are called essential employability learning outcomes too. So this is why I try to help you with the communication part in person. But I know that it can be difficult for some students. So I appreciate you coming in and being ready. Okay. What's your name again? Sir. Oh, I don't have Sir. How do you spell it? Sari. Oh, Sari or Sari Gibson. Yeah, very good. Now I remember. Okay, Sari, go ahead and tell us what you think crossroads means when it comes to this thing called togetherness through technology, but we seem to be at a crossroads. Go ahead.
So you said that it can be like a bump in the road, and I also feel like it can be that, but it can also be like different ideas, different backgrounds, different opinions crossing paths, trying to get to the same destination, and that's like involving with being more connected. Like
Yes.
it's okay to have different opinions and ideas, but once we have like an understanding of like where everyone's coming from, then being more connected can help us get there.
Yes, exactly. So, um, do you see a crossroads where we either go this way or maybe that way, but we're standing and looking like at a fork in the road? Do you see that as a good thing that it's going to help us get to a better place, or do you see that as an overwhelming thing and maybe we might want to go backwards and get away from this decision that we have to make when we're at this crossroads?
It can be a bit of both, but I like the fork in the road.
You like the fork in the road.
I like the option to make our own decision.
Yeah. There are options, okay? I'm just running back and forth here. I'll try not to do this too much, but just options. Options. Nice. Okay, Daniel? I'm afraid not. It's a bit the way things are set up here. However, would you like to scribe? Get a 5? Go for it, okay? And what okay, excellent, excellent. Go stand over there, take the pen, and watch what we're gonna keep the microphone in your hand, and we'll get this really moving, and I'll show you, Daniel, what people are gonna see. You just walk over there now, and I can always come to you. So Daniel is going over to the notes, and you will see him on Toria. It's backwards, which is our video conference. But then mysteriously on YouTube, it shows up the smartboard forwards. It's just the way tech operates in this world today. But you'll see as I refresh this, there he is on YouTube a little bit a few seconds ago, and now the smartboard is the other way around. So it's okay as long as we have a good recording. But for those of you in Toria, it's backwards right now, but we'll we'll deal with that. Okay. So Daniel, can you go ahead and write what you think a crossroads kind of means at this point? Just the best you can, okay? And I see something coming in on the live chat. Yeah, take your time, okay? And if you want to erase anything, just put your hand over what you wrote and you can always erase it. And I'll come back. And look at this. We have something in the live chat. So Jordan has said he's even. Thank you, Jordan. Way to go. He's giving us a description, a definition of crossroads that we can work with. Jordan, why don't you read out loud what you just wrote? I always like to hear the students' voices. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is just my interpretation of what I think of crossroads. So it's
Yeah.
a deliberate choice that has very different ramifications. So it's taking like a hard left or hard right. And concerning technology, we can swim further into the ocean, which we've explored very little of and know not too much. Like the ocean is a mystery to us. Or finally, we can get to shore, and whatever that looks like. So.
Yes. So this is good. We understand that we've come to a place of choice. We've come to a place of choice. Now, looks like Daniel's got something there. So it's okay, write it, and then we're going to come to you. And I've even put a microphone next to the smartboard. I'll show you momentarily, Daniel, so that when Daniel speaks, we can hear him clearly. But let's come back here, okay? And make sure that we move the microphone around. So Daniel's busy writing. Barry has helped us to see that in this fork, it's not a bad thing because it presents us with options. We have to make the right choices. This is the tough part, Sari. The choices, okay? That's where critical thinking comes in. Can you give the microphone to the next student? And this would be, just turn it on, karaoke, and give us your name. Yep, go ahead.
Hi, is it working? Okay.
Yep.
My name's Georgia.
Georgia?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I wanted to talk more about kind of what you just said, like about the choices.
Yes.
rather than the crossroad itself.
Okay,
'cause
go ahead.
this is
What
I-
do you think, what would you
Um,
like to say about the choices?
Yeah, I feel like we do have a choice, but I feel like a lot of people like to feel like that we don't have a choice because it like takes away the responsibility of not connecting.
Yeah.
Like one thing that comes to mind, for example, is I don't know, like if you have a family member who's trying to reach out through text message and they don't live near you or something,
Yes.
and people often have that excuse like they're working, they've been busy or whatever, but the
Yes.
text has just been sitting there. I feel like that's like an excuse, so people like to act like we don't have a choice, but we do.
But we do.
Yeah.
It's very, very well. You're onto something vitally important in today's class. It relates to freedom.
Yeah.
Good. So choice. So in your estimation, you think we do have the choice in the end.
Yeah.
We always.
I think it's like it's really like detailed or not detailed. I don't know what word I'm looking for.
Okay.
Like it comes down to really like choices as well. Like I don't know. I can't think of anything.
It's good. No, you're you're rising to the challenge. A microphone has been put in your hand, and you've been asked to speak, and you're speaking, and what's coming out of your mouth makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So thank you for that. Okay, we're going to come to the online. Hold the microphone. Okay, just hold it in your hand, because I see that there's a digital hand that's gone up from Angelique, and then we're going to come to Daniel on the smartboard, and then we're going to really begin to understand this big idea of freedom and where
Mhm.
freedom is going. It all connects. Angelique, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was gonna say, freedom is a way of finding your way. And when you go to the beach, the sand can represent the open mind that's spacious and always shifting, and thoughts can be smoothed out and reshaped. You know,
Yes.
so you can find your way and have a path and have direction, and then find your way. I thought it was cute. Yeah.
Well,
And
it's
then the
keep
yeah,
going.
and then
Yep.
the stones can represent experiences or truths that don't make it easy to move. When you shape your path, you can work around them.
Nice. Daniel's got some nice handwriting. He's taking good notes. Keep
Yeah.
going, okay? Daniel, you're doing exactly what I hoped could be done. It's not just you're telling us your crossroads description, but you're going further now and you're taking some notes.
Yeah. So I
This
kind
will
of
help
thought
you.
this what
Go
I
ahead.
thought this describes the crossroads. I thought this describes the crossroads kind of well, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Sure.
know?
Okay.
Mhm.
So Elizabeth has just gone over there to help Daniel a little bit, and we'll come to Brandon a little bit later, okay? We'll come and get some thoughts from him, but I just want to review and establish something, because we're about to enter the big part of today's class. And we've started a really good discussion that's helped us to engage with some of the important ideas that have culminated with us beginning to understand this idea of the crossroads. And that it is through George's comment as well that we've been able to start to understand that at the crossroads, there are choices. That might have been Sari who talked about that, the options. And then Georgia talked about that choices are there and we all have a choice. Well, what's up? I'm going to raise a very important question in a moment about this. Okay, make sure you're muted, Angelique. Just mute it because there's a bit of scrambliness going on there. Daniel, could you make another slide and write down in big letters? Do we really have a choice? Yeah, nice. Do we really have a choice? Now, I'm going to take us someplace where there's some very good research in a moment for us to help us understand how to answer this. But Elizabeth, and let's get her the microphone. George, did you want to give Elizabeth the microphone? And go ahead, Elizabeth. But we're now moving into the big topic today, which is, do we really have a choice? Are we really as free as we think we are? And is it possible that as we go into the future and we have to choose at this crossroads what direction, we're going to become less free, not more free? Now, I have some information to show you that might make you think about this. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Do you want me to stay on the topic of technology, or can I go around?
Well, the topic that we're on in the last two classes is Together on Earth. This idea that, we are now so connected in this world, humanity, that it's everything everywhere all at once. Remember that? Everything everywhere all at once. We talked about that. We know what's going on everywhere. But this connectedness has created a kind of an illusion. We think we're really more connected, but maybe in a way we aren't. Maybe we've come to a crossroads. So technology is a very important part of this, Elizabeth, because it's technology that has connected us. But then maybe it's isolating us too. So you can talk about technology, but let's try and stay within that kind of dilemma of is technology connecting us? Is it isolating us? And then I'm going to tell you more about that. Go ahead.
I don't think it's isolating us any more than we have been, because before we had technology, generally, I guess I don't know enough about it, but when we were in smaller communities, of course, we'd be connected to those small communities and in that physical location. And then everyone outside of that, we had very little connection or interaction with. Now that we're living in larger physical communities,
Yes.
just a funny side effect of that is that we interact with less people within the area. But because of technology, we create our own little small communities that aren't defined by physical space, but more online space or online ideas. Sometimes it just depends on where you went.
Virtual. We call it virtual
Virtual.
communities.
Yeah,
virtual communities. Yeah.
which can be smaller, bigger, or whatever. And you can be in like multiple different ones as well. So I think it hasn't necessarily in terms of the number of people we're connected to, it hasn't gotten necessarily smaller or bigger. It's just different people in different places. For that. In terms of choices, in terms of freedom and
Yes.
figuring out where technology is going to go, Jordan was saying that when we say the word crossroads, it's a very deliberate choice, like a hard left or hard right. And then Georgia was saying that some people feel like we don't really have a choice, or like they tell themselves that they don't have a choice, even though
But they really do.
yeah, but
Yes.
they really do.
Yes.
I think for technology, in terms of the direction it goes, it's also a bit of both, because there's an innumerable, you can't count how many people are on technology, not really.
Yes.
So for it to go a certain direction and say that we chose for it to go that way, it would have to mean that every single person using it is choosing to go that way. But that doesn't work that way. There's too many people. So really it becomes a bit of the people who have influence over what technology becomes on a large scale.
Yes.
Their choices usually end up determining maybe not determining what happens, but opening pathways. And then the people who use the technology but don't necessarily make it or create it or direct it, what they do determines what path we actually go down.
So, in a way, we do have a choice. At least the people who are in a position to make decisions and decide what path we're going to go down. And I'm just going to show everybody here. They're good. He is really working hard on this. And I wish this computer were faster, but it's not. Anyways, I won't worry too much. But Elizabeth, I want to just stop you for a sec, because I want to present us with some important information around this idea of making the right choice. Who are the people who are in a position to make that choice for us? But ultimately, whether we have the freedom to make the right choices, no matter who is making those choices. And I want to direct you to something that's on the big board behind me. And you will see from an organization called Freedom House. It's a important map that I'm going to share with you. It's called Tracking Freedom Around the World. And I want to talk about this idea of whether we really do have the freedom and whether we really do have the choice that we think we do, or is it possible that in this world of greater and greater connection and technology, that our choices are becoming more limited, more restricted, not more diverse and more free? So the fundamental issue here that we're looking at is at this crossroads where we have a world of great connection we can go one way where we can have more technology. We can make sure that we have more technology in our lives. We can go another way where we say we're not sure, we'll have less technology in our lives. Or we can go another way and say, well, maybe we want to really question everything that we have because we're worried that we're becoming less free. And then there might be another road that says, no, let's just carry on the way everything is going. We're getting freer and freer, and everyone has more and more choice. But there's all these different directions we can go in now with technology. The fact is, we're more connected. That's all we can say for certain. We're more connected. But where is that going to lead? Well, I want to tell you about Freedom House. How many of you have heard of a source called Freedom House before? Have any of you worked with this? It's an organization. Let me just scroll up a little bit here, and you will see expanding and defending freedom around the world. And this is a source that is used by what we might call the elite in the world, but everybody's part of this. We all have access to the same information, more or less. But in terms of decision makers, politicians, chairmen of chairwomen of large corporations, people of wealth, people who have accomplished things, but also students too. People all over have access to this site called Freedom House. And this organization is the probably most respected, most independent and authoritative organization on the state of freedom and liberty on planet Earth today, all across the world. It analyzes our countries becoming less free or more free. What is the state of freedom going forwards? And many journalists, many scholars, and others, and people who explore these issues deeply will consult Freedom House and will use it as a source. So I just want to make sure that as we use this source today, you understand that this is a good source. And I wouldn't bring sources to the class that aren't credible and aren't independent. There is another source that we're going to talk about briefly as well today, and it's called Our World in Data. Have any of you ever heard of this source at all? Good. Okay, because it's really important that as I introduce to you in this little lecture I'm giving, just a brief lecture, that you understand there are two sources that I'm working with that are really important, and these are top sources. And I'm going to use these sources to help us understand something about what is freedom and what is the future of freedom for humanity. Okay? So let me just come back to the first one, Freedom House. I'm going to speak for about 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to have you go to these sources yourselves and look at the interactive maps that they have prepared on this site of which countries are more free and less free, and what has been the general trajectory over the last decades or so in terms of are people becoming more or less free in the world. And you will see things that surprise you, actually, in terms of this question. But I need to be able to explain to you, what is freedom? Everyone talks about, including Tim Berners-Lee, the ones who dream of something better for humanity. They always talk about technology and tools that humans create as a way to liberate us even more. There's even a great artist and illustrator and pioneer of graphic novels who started, I think it's Marvel Comics or DC Comics. You might be familiar with these. Stan Lee. How many of you have ever heard the name Stan Lee? One of the pioneers of comics and graphic novels. He used a term about the future of humanity. He talked about Excelsior. Ever heard that word Excelsior? Let me spell it for you, Daniel. Okay, has something to do with freedom. Excelsior. 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 And if any of you are really interested in graphic novels or comics and the history of this movement, I'm not going to get into the debate between DC Comics and Marvel because I don't know a lot about that. But some of you may be a DC person, some of you may be a Marvel person. But the point is that Stan Lee was one of the pioneers of this entire industry. And he said that he believes that technology, human progress, and the way things are going, human creativity, is taking humanity to a more liberated stage where we can do more when we are more free. And he believed that this word excelsior, which means this state of greater glory, betterness for humanity, has a lot to do with being more free. And he lived his life as a creative person quite freely. And I hope all of us have a chance, particularly you have a chance in your lives through your own free thinking to create things and do things for humanity and others that you're really proud of. That comes from free thinking, your ability to freely create and express yourself. Stan Lee said that the world is on its way to becoming more free, and there's going to be greater glory and something better for humanity. Well, that's a dream. It's something we all would like. Freedom House was formed in 1945, just after the Second World War. And the Second World War was a moment in history that may have been one of the darkest times. A war had just ended. More people had died or been injured or hospitalized in this war than any other war in history. And without me going into the details of this war, it was a war between fascism, led by Adolf Hitler and the Japanese emperor, and the Western powers, led by England, United States, and Canada. And it ended with what appeared to be the victory of the freer countries, us. It also ended with something new for humanity that we had to grapple with. It's called omnicide, the destruction of everything. A nuclear weapon had ended the war. We built it in the free countries. We dropped that bomb on Japan. It's called an atom bomb. It was the most destructive act of humanity in history. And it introduced a new idea for humanity called the destruction of everything. There was also genocide that came out of that war as well. My point is, humanity had to do something new to ensure that we would never, ever have a war like that again. And we created a new document called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The United Nations, as a result of the destruction of the Second World War, created this document, and Freedom House was also born after that because it was believed that we needed to enshrine and make sure that the protection of all human rights and human freedom was protected so that we would never go back to another war again where people were fighting each other to such an extent. We needed to protect all of our rights. Freedom House has been tracking since then. Every year it comes out with a report and an interactive map where it shows, well, what's been happening to freedom over time? What's been happening in the 21st century and which countries are becoming more free, which are becoming less free? And I'm going to take you to that map in a moment. But I want to come back. Yes, Daniel. Omnicide. 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 N-I-C-I-D-E, omnicide, and also genocide, the war brought to our attention through what we know as the Holocaust, which was the attempt by a great nation, Germany, with a great history, to, on an industrial scale, murder an entire civilization of people. And they killed 6 million, but they went after 15 million. And we have evidence of that. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. Freedom became so important after that war. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was created and organizations that, like Freedom House that were created were there to make sure that we protected our freedoms. So before you go to Freedom House's map, and we begin to look a little bit, are we becoming more free or less free? What is freedom? Why is it so important? Aren't there more important things? Why do we always seem to come back to this idea that your future, our future, so much in the world has to do with whether we are free enough? Maybe some people don't want to be free. What is freedom exactly? Let's make a little list, okay? I will help you with this, okay? First, each and every one of us wants to be free from hunger, don't we? Freedom from hunger, very basic. Wouldn't you say? Freedom from hunger. And that freedom from hunger should be considered what we would say sacrosanct or sacred, that every human being on this planet, every single person should have the right to be free from hunger and starvation, malnutrition and poverty. No brainer? Yes? Okay. Freedom. How about freedom from fear? Would you like to be living in a society where you are afraid that if you say something wrong or you do something that isn't allowed, your neighbor, maybe your brother and sister, will report you to authorities and you may be prosecuted and arrested and tortured and even executed? Wouldn't you like and don't you believe that you should be living in a state where you are free from fear? That you will be injured by your government, injured by others, you will be safe? Don't you think that's something we should all have a right to? Freedom from fear? How about freedom from suspicion? Somebody suspects you of something. Somebody reports you. Do you want to be living in a society where it's constant suspicion? You're worried about what people are going to say about you, or you suspect somebody else of doing something. Freedom from suspicion. How about freedom from being forced to be silent? Let me just ask you for a second. Georgia, if you were told you cannot speak, you're not allowed to, would you generally feel that's okay if I have enough food on my table for my family and enough to go and see a good movie, as long as I'm, reasonably happy and I have what I need? I don't need to speak about anything that's controversial. Would you go along with that, or would you want to always know that when you want to speak, you will speak? What would you prefer? Yeah, you want to be able to speak. So you don't want to be constantly being told that you have to stay silent about certain things. You want to be free to speak. You want to be free to protest if things are not just in your community, if something has happened and you want to organize. Freedom is all of these things plus many other things that we all kind of take for granted but are necessary. Well, let's take a look and see if humanity is becoming more free or less free. Okay, let's take a look at this map. Let me go down here and I'll show it to you, and then I'd like you to spend some time with this just a little bit on your own. Freedom House is founded on the core conviction that freedom flourishes in democratic nations where governments are accountable to their people. Governments are accountable to their people. Okay, well, let's go down a little bit more. If I can make sure, yeah, here we go. Get this working. And we have our interactive, explore our interactive map. So here's what I'd like you to do, okay? I'm gonna put you into pairs for the moment, for the next 10 minutes or so, okay? So Georgia, could you go and sit with Elizabeth? Okay, and could you come, Zed and Sarah, could you come and sit with Brandon over here? Just come sit over there. Okay, and Daniel, you can come over and join Elizabeth and Georgia. Okay, and I'll continue. Excellent. Okay, come join them for a second. And for all of you in the cosmos right now, I would like you to do this. Okay, I would like you to. Ooh, please. Oh, I'll write this. It's a little slow in a moment. Let me get everybody set up here. What I'd like each group to do is I'd like you to explore together, just spend a few minutes exploring the interactive map on Freedom House. This is the website, Freedom House. Want to make sure you have it. And this is what you're going to come to, okay? Freedom House tracks fundamental freedom and rights in 208 countries and territories worldwide. So it's the most definitive overview of the state of freedom, and it breaks down countries that are not free, countries that are partly free, and countries that are free are in green. I'd like you to go to this map first and make sure you see something immediate, and then I'd like you to explore it together, okay? For all of you online, please go to the Freedom House website that you see behind us and go to their interactive map that I have on the board, okay? Please go to the Freedom House website, and I can't give you the link because it's on another computer. Please go to the Freedom House website and open the interactive global map. Okay, and I'm go ahead. Let's see if that got okay, great. So we're going to spend just a few minutes with this. And does anybody have any questions in the Cosmos? The teams here are working on theirs.
Yeah, I
Jordan,
kind of don't know how to
good.
split my screen because I'm on my phone, so I'm not
Okay,
very
good.
technical.
All right, we'll help you. But Jordan's already noticed something quite interesting. And anyways, let me just show you one thing, okay, that you should all see right now, right in front of you. Green is what considered the freest countries, or free by their definition. And the definition of freedom that I gave you is in part their definition, but they have an even more comprehensive definition. But notice the green, notice the gold or the yellow, partly free, and then notice all the purple, not free. What you will see as you look at this immediately is that our authoritative source on the state of freedom in the world is telling us that many, many countries, we might even say half of humanity, who knows, we can do it by population, but a lot of countries are not free. And look at Russia, look at China, look at countries in Africa, look at the tip of South America and others. Why would Freedom House be telling us that they are not free? Anyways, just notice that. You don't have to say anything at this point, okay? Purple, green, and yellow. Very simple. And Jordan has already put into the live chat something interesting we'll take up in a moment, okay? About Finland. Jordan, I guess the question would be, since you're on top of this and that's great, is why would the Nordic countries seem to be the best for freedom? And who are the Nordic countries? Finland, who else, Jordan? And what would make them, by Freedom House's standards, be the best for freedom? I'd like you to work on that, Jordan, and then put the results into the live chat, okay? Great. Angelique, do you need a little help or are you good? Okay. You can, unmute your microphone, okay, Angelique, just so we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
how to split my screen actually because my laptop is broken. So I just have my
Okay.
phone.
Are you able to access the Freedom House website?
Well, let's see if I can
Okay.
try.
Make sure. I just want to check with the others in the cosmos. Harshika, Harpreet, Carson, Carol, Yubraj. Are you able to access the Freedom House website? I
Yeah,
want to
we
make
are. I'm able to
good.
access, but I don't
Good,
know
Harshika.
what are we actually
Okay. Are
supposed.
you there? Are you actually on a tab with Freedom House?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Go to their homepage where the landing
Yep.
page and scroll down to where it says interactive map. You'll see as you scroll down that landing page.
There's something that says 97 out of 100 and the country's name at the top, and 10
You
out
will
of
see a
100.
link
And
that says interactive map. That's what I want you to click on. I can show it to you
okay.
here. It's just I'm having a little trouble. Okay. If you can't find it, it's okay for now, Harshika, as long as you just familiarize yourself with this source. It's a very important source that I'd like you to be aware of. And Carson, Yubraj, Harpreet, let us know if you have any questions, okay? We're going to take this up momentarily. And what I'd like us to be able to understand is, why are so many countries purple?
Hmm.
Why are so many countries purple? I'll write this here. Why are so many countries purple? Okay. And we got Daniel's notes. That's great. That'll work with us. Okay. And I'll make sure to see if there's any questions. Good. So you're looking at some data. It's really good to be able to look at data for this stuff. Great. Yeah, nice, Daniel. That's exactly what I do when I'm doing some research. Okay. You're on it? Yeah, you're good?
Mhm.
Yep, good. Elizabeth is there. And let's see. And for Sari, it's Sari, right? Not Sari. 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 Ah, South Africa. What does it say about South Africa? More free, less free? The ranking? It's kind of, you'll see.
Mm.
Together on Earth, are we becoming more or less free? Just because we're connected doesn't mean that we're becoming more free. Okay, let me just see if there's one other thing. Just spend another couple of minutes on this, and then great.
Mm.
Check. See. So we see, and then let's see what's happening with our world and data. Our world and data is really good. Oh, so much here. Let's put in freedom. Let's see what they do with freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom of association, press freedom, freedom score. Look at all these different insights. But two more minutes, and then we'll see what you've come up with. And I just might continue to give Daniel a little rest. And I'll help with the take up. Take up. Together on Earth, Part 2. Is technology making us more free? Well, remember what Tim Berners-Lee said. Tim Berners-Lee said, okay. So we're going to take this up together. Okay. So here's what we're going to do today. Good. Look at Jordan's got a nice big note there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to take the camera over there and I'm going to give you guys the microphone to pass around so that we can answer this question together. And I'll make sure that everything gets up there that's important. The microphone is there. Where is the microphone? Somewhere? Is it there? Okay, good, Elizabeth. So I'm going to come over here and you can all direct as you speak. You can direct it to me over here because that's what everybody is going to see online. And I'll make sure that I'm in the right place and that Jordan, we will get him to either read it out loud what he's done, or we might have somebody read out loud what he's written as well because it's right there. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take about 10 minutes or so, maybe 15, to get some critical ideas down about what you've noticed from your introduction to an excellent source that can help us to understand something about freedom, its future for humanity. And let me just remind you that in this class, this is about humanity's destiny, which is all of us on Earth. Okay, that's what you signed up for, the big picture. And so in order to understand humanity, we have to look at all countries and we have to look at some sophisticated data and we have to look at what parts of the world maybe we have to worry about and maybe what we have to worry about in our own lives. So let's review this, all right? And why don't we start with Jordan, since I'm over here and it might be just easier for you to read out loud what you've written. I will hear it, everyone will hear it. Can you read out loud what you wrote in the chat? Go ahead.
Sure. So you asked me to look into why Finland was ranked 100 out of 100 for freedom. So Freedom House, their criteria, it's broken down more than just these 7 points. Like there's sub points in these, but these are the main. So it's number one, electoral process. Number 2, political pluralism and participation. Number 3, functioning of government. Number 4, freedom of expression and belief. Number
Mhm.
5, associational and organizational rights.
Yep.
Number 6, rule of law. Number 7, personal autonomy and individual rights. And then something I also noticed is that these Nordic countries are often considered some of the happiest places on earth when they do those yearly surveys. So, does freedom equal happiness? And
Hmm.
these countries are known for their excellent social programs as well. So, that definitely helps with financial freedom.
Yes. Yes. Good. Is there anything that surprised you as you began to look at this data from this more global, humanity-wide perspective, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, just I think the what you can see from just looking at the map is the West is generally considered more free, and the
Mhm.
East is considered a lot more restrictive. And I don't know if that is in itself is some kind of propaganda, or maybe it's just
Yeah.
we're not we're putting into consideration our own mentalities and not
Yes.
really. Yeah, so that could have something to do with it as well. But
Sure. Okay, great. Well, thank you for getting us. Trinity, excellent. Okay, I'm just letting the in-person students here continuing to dig a little bit before I come to them. But Trinity, could you go and read out loud as well? Are you able to jump on your microphone?
Yeah, I can.
Excellent. Yeah, you don't have to unmute your video, just your microphone. Great. So you've got your 5. Go for it. Read us what you've written in the chat. Go ahead.
Basically I was saying a lot of the purple countries that are considered not free have been colonized in the past and stripped of their culture. Versus the places that did the colonizing are mostly considered free.
Yes.
When they were the ones taking away other countries' freedom. And I just feel like there is definitely some correlation there between the purple countries being mostly in Africa and Asia and the green countries being like Europe and the Americas.
Yes.
So that's what I
Good
wrote.
point. So we've got an East versus West kind of contrast that we have to understand. We have the colonizers versus the colonized. You're absolutely right about that. And let's go one step further, Trinity, and try to understand why, if China, for example, which has not been as colonized as other parts of the world have, it has had its difficulties and troubles with England, and although now the parts of China that were under English control have been returned to China, i.e., Hong Kong, for example, and Taiwan, which has remained independent, is also moving some ways in the direction towards China, but we shall see. But the point is, China may not fit the colonized part that you've sort of put your finger on, Trinity. But what is it in China then that makes them less free? What seems to be, a critical part? Because when we look at China, we're looking at 1.6 billion people on planet Earth. China and India are the 2 most populous nations on the planet. There's a lot of humanity in those countries right there, and China is so important in understanding humanity's destiny. And yet China is not free, according to this. Why?
Um, I mean, I don't know too much about like Chinese like politics and stuff, but I have
Mhm.
heard like I think it's because of their leader or whatever, their
Yes.
prime minister is
The
apparently like
pres-
a president is like a dictator there, and that could be why they're not fully free. Although they have a lot
yes.
of technology, I feel like they're still um what's the word? Like sociologically behind maybe.
Okay. Yep. Daniel, did you want to say something about that? I thought I saw you. Go ahead. I'm going to get the microphone over there, okay? Just grab it, and I'll keep the camera on me here so I can put any critical notes, okay? Why is China?
Yeah,
Not free?
I was contemplating on talking about this because I don't know too much about China. I've only done like a little bit of
Yep.
research. But I do know that they've had negative experiences with Western countries in the past.
Yes.
In the 19th century, like the opium crisis and kind of the exploitation of their economy or their people by like England and other countries, even the United States. Um, and I guess that kind of pushed China, I think, into a more isolated mindset where they want to, how can I say, like,
Hmm.
they don't, like, it was when communism, I guess, began there.
Yes, exactly. Communism.
Whole
Yes,
idea,
that's right.
they wanted to be for themselves and not for anyone else.
Yes.
And that did, in a sense, that kind of pushed them towards that direction where
Yes.
they had the dictators, but a lot of that was, especially in the middle of the 20th century, they did a lot to industrialize themselves
Yes.
and modernize themselves.
That's right.
Because they wanted to be independent. But I think even now that they've kind of really reached like technology or technological advancement,
Mhm.
I think that mindset of like they want to control what they have and they want to ensure that people stay in line so that I don't know, outside influence or other things like that don't come in. So maybe for us, yeah, or for the outside world, it definitely does seem that they're less free. But maybe that's just so in tune in their culture and how they think.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
I don't know. They
Are
seem
you
to
are you aware, for example, that by far China has the most surveillance of any country on earth, meaning there are far more cameras present everywhere on the streets, in the malls, public transportation, airports, everywhere. And that surveillance is gathering data through facial recognition technology. So China's position as being less free in one aspect, according to Freedom House and others, has to do with the fact that it is highly controlling its population through constant surveillance and technology. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. Would you like to be living in a world where it might be safe on the streets, there might be no crime that you can see of visibly, that nobody's going to attack you, perhaps, and even on social media, that you won't face any kind of bullying per se. However, the reason for that is because everything about you and others is known through the data that the government is compiling. And as a result, people are living increasingly in fear of saying or doing the wrong thing because they know they will be recorded if they do. Do you understand what I'm saying about how more technology can lead to less freedom? Elizabeth, yes, I'll come back here, okay? Go ahead. Yes. Oh, yeah, turn it on, okay?
Be worried about what I am saying than be worried that I get attacked on the street. Because at least I can control. I can just not say something. But if someone
Yes.
chooses to attack me, then it's like that's not really in my control. So, yeah, if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose restricted speech or expression or whatever over not less safety.
Sure.
Now, I'd rather have both. I'd rather be able to walk in the street safely and speak freely, but if I had to choose, then yeah.
Okay, well, I want you to at least feel that you understand this large dilemma that I'm trying to help you to at least explore together and be aware of the dilemma of technology connects us. There's more and more technology in our lives. We need it. We like it. But at the same time, we think that by having more connection, we're able to, in some ways, live in a better world where we can talk to many different people, learn from many different people, and that we can learn how to be respectful of each other. But then Tim Berners-Lee has warned us. That was his dream for the World Wide Web. And he has told us, be careful, be very careful. As many science fiction writers have told us, people like George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, classic writers who've warned us that there are governments that may use this technology to control us. How do we ensure that that doesn't happen? Sid, go ahead. That dilemma of the technology being used not to help us and free us, but to control us should concern us. Don't you think? Sorry? Yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
I think that freedom isn't just about like being controlled or whatnot. As you said, like freedom is also about feeling safe and not feeling like dying from hunger, like for example.
Yes.
So I'd rather like take being surveilled than being killed. Like I find it amusing that India or Pakistan is considered partly free
Partly free. India and Pakistan, partly
and
free.
China is considered not free just because they have surveillance and like they're being controlled. But I rather like not be killed or like have been like abused from my rights
Yeah.
than like be surveilled. And if anything, like even America is like surveilling, but
Yep.
they don't explicitly say it. So I would say China is more free because they at least they know about it.
Sure. Good point. All I want you to do is engage with these ideas. There's no right or wrong answer at this point. I just want to help you become aware of a large dilemma that humanity is facing going forwards. That the more technology in our lives doesn't necessarily mean more freedom. It can mean the opposite. Elizabeth? You good? Yeah? Okay, great. Let me check because we're getting close to the end here. And I want to see if there's others who, let me get my glasses. If not, I see Jordan and hold on. I need my little bit of tech. I consider glasses tech. It's just a tool humanity has made that can help us. My glasses help me. Harshika, are you able to read out loud what you've written? Go ahead.
Yeah. I think the reason behind this less freedom for this countries like Africa, Asian region is mainly um, for weak leadership and corruption, and also because of poverty and lack of education and resource curse, such as these countries are rich in oil and other resources which led to
Yes,
conflicts, and they lag behind other countries due to this.
very good point. But not having access to education, that's another freedom that we all consider a basic human right. The freedom to access quality education. All of us should have the ability all over this planet, every human being, of course they don't, to access quality education. Don't you think? But they don't. There are reasons for that. Brandon, I'll bring the microphone over to Brandon, okay? Yeah. You want to say something? Let me turn this on. We've got our camera. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'd say a little bit what I'm mad about.
Okay, go ahead. You're
It's
free to speak.
because
Go ahead.
OSAP and
Uh,
whatever it's not willing to give me another student loan at the moment,
yes.
even though I only owe them like $2,700, which is not that bad compared
Mm,
to some people with like 100 grand.
mm, mm.
And they really want me to pay it, but I'm a seasonal worker,
Yep.
and I have no money to pay them, and brought money and they calling me at 8:30 in the morning is,
You know something?
um,
I just realized we have a learning opportunity here. A very important learning. You hold the microphone for a second. You ready for a great learning opportunity? Because Brandon will always speak his mind and tell us what he thinks and how he feels. And we're talking about freedom and choice. Well, first, just want to make sure, does anyone want to get off their chest as well what's happened with OSAP? Because this came up in another one of my classes this morning in global leader classes about the changes to OSAP. Are you familiar with them? Anyone online in the cosmos? Angelique, anything you'd like to say about this?
I didn't really understand what it was saying. Like, so are we getting more funding or less funding? I was confused by it actually.
I can't answer it completely myself because I'm not sure, but I believe it's less. That
Oh,
student
okay.
loans have been cut and there will be
Okay.
less for
Oh,
students, not more.
student loans are cut. Okay. Yeah, because I was a little confused reading it. I was a little confused of what it meant. You know?
Well, okay, let me just come back. We only have 5 minutes left, and I want to, as always, because Brandon always has some good insights for us, as well as let me just make sure we can see all of this. But it's yeah, we've lost that. We're talking about freedom. Brandon, would you say you feel less free as a human being than the rest of us?
honestly, because I'm in a wheelchair, I do feel less free. Because I do not have the ability to get up and do
Sure.
anything. So everyone in this world, in this country, even they all think I cannot do a job or anything like that. I cannot.
Mhm.
Their grand numbers. I don't understand math. They just think I'm just some dumb retarded
Yeah, yeah. And of course, you're not.
person.
Absolutely not. As we learned from Stephen Hawking. How many of you remember Stephen Hawking, the great physicist, who was in even worse condition? He couldn't hold anything and needed a computer to articulate what he was thinking, right? Why am I saying this to all of you at the end of today's class? Because I want to mention something that I think Brandon can help us understand. And always I like to teach from what the students say. It's called organic teaching. I like to teach through your experiences and then open that up to the big lessons. Georgia said at the beginning something wise. She said, we all do have a choice. It doesn't even matter if we're not that free, if our freedom is restricted. We still have a choice on how we react, on how we choose to overcome and meet a situation. Last week in the notes at the end, I've kept this in front of me. Elizabeth wrote at the end, but hey, it's not the end yet. There's going to be many different challenges, but we all have the ability to overcome them. Hold on a second. I'm just going to make a point. Do you want to say something quick? Because I want to come back and show you that Brandon chooses something. I've seen how he reacts. He chooses something, and it's a remarkable choice, given that his freedoms are restricted. But I want to just go ahead. Oh, they were Brandon's words. That's even better. Thank you for reminding me. Now everything connects in the end. I don't have to struggle so much. Lovely. So let me just revise my comment with Elizabeth's very good observation that I missed something. But hey, she wrote, it's not the end yet. There are going to be many different challenges, but we all have the ability to overcome them. She's reminded me that it was Brandon who said that. How is it possible that someone who struggles the way you do, whose freedoms are limited the way they are, would still say something so remarkably resilient, positive, and inspiring? Can you explain that to me about humanity's destiny? You could easily say something else and say, I can't overcome anything. But you didn't. Why did you say that?
Anybody has the ability to overcome anything.
But you can't overcome the fact that you're in this position. You can't.
It doesn't matter, but it says ability or like your mental capabilities or anything like that.
Your mental capabilities.
Just if you want to do something, do it.
Yeah. You have the choice. He has the choice. He could choose to be down, dark, give up, mentally constantly frustrated, which he is to some extent sometimes, like we all are. But he has the choice with his own mind on how he chooses to react to a situation. And that, I think, is a extraordinary lesson about our future, about all of our futures. That each one of us, no matter where we live, what the situation is, how difficult it is, what the obstacles are, how oppressive the government is, we still have our minds. We still have our free minds, and we can still choose to act the way we want. That should give us all hope for humanity's destiny. If you ask me, we are all free thinkers. No matter how bad the government, how bad anything is, nobody can get into your head. Can they, Sari? They can't. They might try to. They can't. Go ahead, Zed. Go, take the microphone, okay? And then we're going to end, okay? Because we got to come back to.
So what if in the future Elon Musk decides to put chips in our heads and we can't even think?
Well, we'll take that in another class. We will take that up in another class. It's a good question, and Jordan has asked about that. My answer to that, Jordan, is we have to explore it. Perhaps we should do a class on it, but no human being anywhere wants their mind taken away from them. Ever. Anywhere. That should give us hope. Anyways. Okay. So you have an assignment due tomorrow. First assignment. If it's not in already, there's no extra marks for early submission. That's coming for your final assignment later. So if you get it in early, great. You should be proud of yourself. Please, I will say one thing about this, and then we'll go to Angelique. Finally, I see her here. Angelique, and there might be someone else. Please, in the rush to get this assignment submitted tomorrow, if you haven't submitted it, please don't lean on tech, i.e. ChatGPT, to do the assignment for you. I guarantee you, if that's becoming a habit for you, then email me and say, Lon, I need an extension. Please do not default to an algorithm to do your thinking for you. Don't ever do that in your life. It will hurt you in the long run. I guarantee you. Okay? Please let me know you need an extension. Don't default to tech and an algorithm to get through. It's just going to make you a dumb human being in the long run. Okay, Angelique, you have your hand up, and then we're going to conclude. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say my inspiration for writing in life and better humanity was community events, kind of, and like being part of the community and actively participating and doing something that's meaningful and purposeful. And I finished a few shifts over at the auto show that I usually work every year.
Mhm.
And that's actually kind of a show I really like because it is very interactive, and even just working with the general public or even volunteering or even just sitting there and watching the crowd flow and be invited. It's actually I always find my inspiration from art shows or community shows or like the people you meet at these places or so that's a good inspiration to go to if you don't have anything to do and you want some inspiration. You should go to the auto show at Convention Center.
Thanks.
And I
It
just
reminds me of a
just
story. It
yeah.
reminds me of a story I will tell you in another class because we've run out of time about
Yeah.
when I was living abroad in Spain, in Barcelona for 2 years. And
Yeah.
but I'll wait. Does
And
anybody
then
have anything they'd like to say?
Mhm.
You good? Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you all, Brandon, for coming again and providing some insights. Sari, Zed, Elizabeth, Georgia, and Daniel, good work on all of this. Again, email me if you need any help with your first assignment. Harshika, Jordan, Ubraj, Carol, Carson, Jasmine, and others in the cosmos, have a good week, and I'll see you next week. Okay?
Mhm.
Take care.
All right. Bye. Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Check-ins.
I'll have to save that in a